Paranormal in Pennsylvania may discuss topics such as suicide, murder, and other potentially upsetting things. Listener discretion is advised. Hello, and welcome to Paranormal in Pennsylvania,
where we discuss history and hauntings.
Today's story takes us to Eastern PA to a very lesser-known battle. I'm Sarah.
And I'm Erica.
Let's get into it. So, I grew up in Eastern PA.
Yes.
I love history. I thought I would have known of pretty much every reasonably sized battlefield in the area.
Yes.
I had never heard of this. It's called the Paoli Battlefield.
Yeah, I haven't either.
And I was home for the holidays, and so my brother and I had some friends over to our parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody I saw, I said, "Have you heard of the Paoli Battlefield?" And every single person said no. But it was this giant, cool park. They have monuments there. They have, a big, giant monument. They have the mass grave, which I'll talk about.
Mm-hmm.
They have the actual battlefield with a series of plaques where you can walk around and follow where the troops went. It was incredible.
That's huge.
Yeah.
For something that we've never heard of.
Right.
I'm surprised it wasn't even mentioned in school.
Right. It wasn't mentioned in school. Honestly, it wasn't in any list of haunted places in Pennsylvania. The only reason I found it is because I looked in a small radius within a specific area, and this came up, and I thought, maybe it will be one of those places where we don't have enough for a full episode, but we could still go get content. But no, there is a ton.
I'm excited.
So.
And honestly, it sounds very Italian.
Paoli?
Paoli.
I've literally never thought of it that way because I grew up in that area, and Paoli Pike is one of the major roads there. I've never thought of it being Italian. But if anybody from my hometown or that area is listening, what do you think of when you hear Paoli? Because I've never thought of it like that, but you're probably right.
I could also be thinking of cannolis. They're Italian. So it's very possible. That is not accurate.
All right, let's get into the history. So this battle took place on September 20th to 21st, 1777.
Ooh.
And it's also known as the Paoli Massacre.
Oh, no.
I know. It was actually fought at midnight in Malvern, Pennsylvania, and there was a tavern nearby called the Paoli Tavern, which gave the battle its name. And as I mentioned, a lot of things are named Paoli now. There's the Paoli Pike. Okay, I guess that's all I know, but feels like there's a lot.
Three's a lot.
I guess that's true.
You know what I'm saying?
And it is rumored that General Wayne, who was the general on the American side, had received a warning of the impending British attack, but he failed to act, leaving them effectively as sitting ducks for this attack at midnight. The American troops had retreated from their defeat at the Brandywine Battlefield to this area. And if you're interested in that, we have quite a few episodes that are linked to the Battle of Brandywine. We cover Brandywine Battlefield itself. It's also mentioned in a few of our other episodes, which I will link somewhere if you're watching on YouTube, somewhere around me. And if you're on Spotify, we'll put it in the description if you want to hear those history and haunts. And the British came to ambush the Americans at night. And the way that they found the camp is they forced a local blacksmith to tell them the location of the camp. And so it didn't say, most of this information is from the actual plaques at the park. I took pictures of them.
Right.
It didn't say how they forced him. It just said that they forced a local blacksmith to tell them where the camp was.
Okay.
And they were ordered not to shoot because it would alert all of the soldiers, including the sleeping ones, but to rely only on bayonets.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And to think someone knew and didn't act.
Well, so General Wayne is also known as Mad General Wayne.
Oh.
So.
All right. What,
might have been a little crazy.
Like Mad Hatter or Mad Angry?
Like Mad Hatter.
Okay, gotcha.
Like cray-cray.
Yeah.
So the Americans started a defense as soon as they were alerted, but one of their cannons misfired. So imagine the British are coming, said Paul Revere.
Yeah.
No, the British are coming, and they're trying to get their cannons up and running.
Right.
While they're under the cover of darkness because it's midnight, and one of them misfires. So this effectively completely gives away their position and their line of defense. So the British know exactly where to go Many tried to flee, but the cannon broke apart and blocked the escape route, trapping the Americans because there's a lot of woods nearby. So, part of this becoming a massacre is the British killed or injured anyone who tried to surrender.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
That's horrible.
I know.
That's just something you don't do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
From what I gathered from the plaques, they thought that this really could be a turning point of the war because the Americans were defeated at Brandywine and had already fallen back. And then this was a chance to completely take out the rest of this army.
Oh,
I know, but it's very sad.
it is.
The Americans, some of them fled to a nearby swamp to hide. Specifically, one of the plaques talked about a Lieutenant Brady who said that he fled as soon as he saw that there was no way that the Americans were going to be able to win. And in the morning, he finally came out of the swamp thinking it was all clear, only to realize there's about 50 other Americans hiding in the swamp as well. And he said it was a good thing that they spoke to each other because they were so covered in mud that you couldn't tell what side they were on.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so they could have all killed each other.
Right.
Really. He ended up actually taking command of them, even though he was only a lieutenant.
Right.
It said only lieutenant, but I think that's still pretty high.
I think so too.
David?
I
Lieutenant,
thought they
is
were
that high?
already high.
It's like a 1, depending on what grade.
So it's not high.
No.
Okay, great. Well, only a lieutenant. There were 250 to 300 Americans that died in this massacre, and guess how many British?
Oh gosh. I'm going to say 52.
Not one. David guessed one. You guessed 52. 3.
3?
3. So this was literally a massacre. There is actually a monument on site of the mass grave of 52 of the fallen soldiers that the locals were able to recover. And this is really important to the locals because they felt like the Americans weren't doing anything. The British exploited the community by making a local take them to the camp. And these people, not a lot of people know about the battle, and they weren't getting a lot of recognition. So in 1817, they constructed this monument to the battle. So that's 40 years later. And it is said that during the war, troops were so affected by this massacre that Remember Paoli became a battle cry.
Oh my god. I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, but it's like you've never even heard of it. And it said all troops from Pennsylvania, which is a gigantic state and was the capital.
Yeah, I'm very surprised we haven't heard of this.
Yeah.
Because this is significant. And maybe it's the thing of like we lost and so people keep it out of history books. But I feel like the losses are just as important as we see.
Yeah. And maybe because it's not the big battle of Brandywine or whatever, but it's still important.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
So now on to the paranormal stuff. So every October they do paranormal tours of the battlefields that cost $45 a person. We were there in December, so we didn't get to do that. But we did go around. And apparently there are 9 hotspots of paranormal activity on the grounds, with the paranormal tours regularly producing, quote, photo and video evidence of the paranormal, end quote.
Is that like people are going and taking videos and then submitting them?
No, that's like when they do these group paranormal tours with some like paranormal investigators and experts, like each time they go, they get tons of proof apparently. And I wish that it had said the 9 hotspots or mapped it out, but it did not.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot for one area. And I wonder if the monuments, or not the monuments, maybe the plaques have something to do with it. I don't know how many plaques there were.
That might be part of it. And if I still have it, maybe we can pop up the image of the plaque, but you can see it would make sense that there were distinct areas. I think like the mass grave is absolutely going to be one.
Oh yeah.
The woods, they have the line of where the cannons were, where the tents were. So I think it could make sense if you think of it that way. So maybe it is just happens to coincide with the plaques because they're in the significant areas.
Right.
So one of the ghosts is General Wayne himself, the Mad General. And he has been seen haunting various locations in this area, but specifically the battlefield. Reports say he can be seen lounging and smoking a pipe, as if he is relaxing, and he may have been before the battle ever occurred. I know.
I mean, so this is the thing, right? Like, That makes sense because he didn't take action.
Right.
And, you know, war is hard. Obviously, I'm not in the military. I don't make these decisions. So, I don't know. Maybe they had a few, like, fluke warnings. And maybe that's why he was like, oh, this is another one. But it's just so sad that he's, like, seen kind of relaxing when, well, at that point in the future, just, like, a few hours later.
Yeah. If he knew.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I think too. It's like, if he knew, it's just kind of salt in the wound.
Yeah.
But he's like lounging, smoking a cigar.
Yeah.
A pipe, not a cigar, sorry. And there is more to the hauntings his spirit has. He's commonly seen on January 1st, which was his birthday. And the story goes that his body was originally buried in Erie. His family or someone wanted the body to be transported to his home church over in Malvern, where this is. However, the road was tumultuous and many of his bones were lost along the way.
Oh my gosh.
So he can be seen allegedly doing the whole trek from Erie to his home church in Chester County, allegedly including passing through this battlefield looking for his bones.
I feel like, okay, here's the thing. That's like a 5-hour drive.
Yeah.
So I guess my question, and I don't know if this was stated, but is it like just people have seen him at various points? Okay. Because I was going to say, I don't know how long. I don't know if his ghost is like defying the laws of physics and can kind of be maybe in multiple places at once, or like makes the trek almost like he's driving kind of thing where it does.
Yeah.
But that must, I mean, if it's real walking speed.
I think it's just kind of existing in all parts of the trek on that day.
That makes sense.
Because I think they said there were reports like up by Erie and in Malvern, both on January 1st, which, like you're saying, it would be impossible.
Yes.
To do that.
For a walk, yes.
And I think it's kind of ironic that he is not resting in peace if he did know. Not that anybody deserves that, because I don't think anybody deserves that.
Right.
But it's like, you know, he made it through the battle, but he's still stuck with unfinished business.
Right. Like this, I'm not surprised that he's kind of brought back here, because that is a huge, again, like I don't make those, it's got to be very hard. I don't want to like
simplify. Yeah.
Yes. But at the same time, that's a lot of people dead. And that may not have been dead.
Right.
If they had taken action.
Right. So it could be guilt, or in general, even if he didn't know, it's still a loss.
Yes.
You know. And
yes.
We know, like, George Washington at Fort Necessity didn't like that. So many hauntings here are typical of a battlefield. Visitors claim to see men in colonial dress riding through the battlefield on horses. Some even say that when they see the horses' hooves hit the ground, fire flashes, which I think would be absolutely terrifying.
Oh, I was going to say, I thought that would be cool.
I don't know, like, I guess I was taking it from the perspective of a lot of times people think that they're historical reenactors. Oh. So, like, if you think it's a historical reenactor and then it's like, boom, fire. That's terrifying.
That's terrifying. You know what? I just watched American Psycho for the first time yesterday, and when he shot those police cars and they just blew up,
terrifying.
I was a little freaked out. So, to be honest, maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
About it being cool.
And I think it's easy to be like, that would be cool to see, and then, but like to experience it,
yes,
whole different thing.
Yes.
There are also the reports of gunshots and screams across the battlefield, and I will say that I did think that I heard a gunshot while I was here. I was trying to follow the trail through the woods. I was running because it was freezing. It was like 20 degrees out. I was like jogging to stay warm, because my family just went to the immediate battlefield with me, and then they were like, we're not walking the whole trail. So I was like, okay, I'll run it and stay warm and get done faster.
Yeah.
And so it might have been a real gunshot, like from hunting season, because it was hunting season.
Right.
Or it could have been a haunting. I really can't say. I wanted to present it still. But, you know, through a skeptical lens, you could say that's not any proof.
Yeah, sometimes they have those, like, clubs in the woods, too. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's like a strip of there's the battlefield and then a strip of woods and then homes. So I was thinking it would be kind of strange for me to hear it, but who knows?
True, yeah.
Visitors also report seeing shadow figures hiding amongst the trees or running into the forest and then disappearing. And as I've said, you can walk the battlefield and follow the escape routes of the soldiers. So this makes complete sense to me. They're following the actual path
Yes.
through the forest. And especially, I think, since 52 of the soldiers are buried on site, it makes sense that soldiers would be haunting.
It's kind of funny that I guessed 52.
That's very strange, actually.
I kind of forgot that I guessed
Did I-
52.
Oh, well, I had said it in
Did
the
you?
history section, so maybe it was at the top of your mind.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, wait a second. Erica's psychic. Okay. A team called the Educated Wanderer captured some EVPs at the battlefield. It's all available online if you go to their website. And things captured include "My appendix hurts," "I am a ghost," and "Not all of them were right." And there were some other ones, but I thought those were the most interesting 3. I think they had like 17 that they captured. And I think "My appendix hurts" could make sense.
Yes.
Sorry, not "I am a ghost." It's "Am I a ghost?" I think that also makes a lot of sense.
Oh, see, that's a little sadder.
Yeah, I know.
It's kind of like they, so unaware of what's happening, which makes sense. It was so chaotic.
Right. And "Not all of them were right." I think that could easily be about the British or about the Americans. Like, it could be about General Wayne saying, like, he didn't make the right choice, etc. So I think all of those could make sense in some sort.
Yes.
A paranormal investigator that goes by the name of Chris W. wrote into a local paper to provide evidence of the paranormal activity here. He showed a photo that initially looks like bugs or maybe butterflies were captured. And it looks like they're butterflies if they were like flying in a line, I guess.
Yeah.
But then he shows a grayscale version of the same photo, and you can clearly see that it's not bugs or butterflies, but the outline of a person with no legs. So it looks like they're like floating.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
That is. Honestly, to see it in different lights like that.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think we've talked about this before, but apparitions kind of manifest in different ways. Like at Brandywine Battlefield, the soldier was like sunk into the ground because the ground had been. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, and I was thinking maybe if a soldier had like their legs cut off or amputated, it could be that. It could be a lot of things there. But I thought that was interesting. And I did take a ton of videos and pictures there. And I sent them to you both. I'm looking at David and also you, obviously. And I had a photo of the woods right where you entered it. And there was a really bright light on the ground. And then as I was walking past the cannon, there was a bouncing light. And, I never want to present evidence without first checking it. So I asked 2 people. First is Cody of Sharp Side of the Paranormal. So shout out Cody. He just started a podcast. Go check it out. And he reviewed the footage and he did think that they were both solar flares. So I appreciate him looking at those. And then we also asked a family friend that used to be a photographer, and he said they are indeed solar flares. I was really hoping that we captured something.
Yeah.
But it makes sense. It was a very sunny day. So my experience was potentially hearing that gunshot. You definitely get a really eerie feeling there as well. Maybe it's knowing that there's the 52 people in the mass grave there.
Yeah.
Or knowing that it was such a massacre and so many people died there. But it definitely is kind of like a solemn, eerie feeling there. You have not been.
No.
Knowing all of the hauntings, would you visit this place?
Yeah, because, when I had visited Gettysburg and things like that when I was younger, I didn't really know that they were haunted. But the history itself is just so interesting that I would go just for that. And I think it's the same thing here, where, of course, now, we know that it's haunted. But the history itself, not ever knowing about this, as a revolutionary history major in college... That's crazy to me. Mm-hmm. But it's a very interesting story and obviously very tragic when we talk about stuff like this.
Right.
So it would be nice to go and just also pay our respects to people.
Yeah, I definitely felt that way. They have monuments to the other wars as well there. There was World War I, World War II. There was a mass one with Vietnam, Korea, etc. on it. And we went with my grandfather and grandmother. My grandfather's a veteran, so we definitely, tried to pay our respects as well to those people in the mass grave. I would love to go back. I know David hasn't been, you haven't been, and we all love history. And it was the plaques were really, really informative. It's so unassuming. It kind of is tied to a community park almost. Like I think there was like a baseball diamond down the hill from it, and then up at the top of the hill is the battlefield and forest. And so I think it would be cool to stop by. You only really need like an hour there to read all the plaques and go around, but it's a lot of information. Clearly the locals care a lot about it, and I mean, it's important, like you said, these are people that died, 250 to 300 people that died or were injured here. So to remember them and learn more about them. But I would love, love, love to go back for a paranormal tour. I wish they were more than just in October, because our Octobers are always insanity.
Right.
But I would love to go back for a paranormal tour here. And they actually debrief about the paranormal investigations at another site that we either have or will be covering, depending on our posting order, which is the Black Powder Tavern. So I think it would be really easy to have a really fun, spooky day.
Yes.
By going here for an investigation.
Oh, yeah.
That is the history and hauntings of the Paoli Battlefield and corresponding Paoli massacre. Tune in next Thursday to see what hauntings and history we discuss next, and stay spooky.